Zimbabwe Herald, your human rights delegation spoke of the responsibility to protect human lives, even going so far as to say that Gabon would intervene in elections should they turn violent and therefore harm human lives. How do you feel that this affects state sovereignty?
A lot of work has been done today in our committee on, and we examined that question, the responsibility to protect. At what point does it become the international community's job to make sure that human life is not being lost? And again, we talked about that, and I guess what it comes back to is while human rights abuses might take place, the thing to keep in mind is human life being lost. And I think we still have working papers going on. We haven't really come to a definitive solution yet, but the nation of Gabon is very pro-responsibility to protect.
Yes, sir.
Given Gabon's
your media outlet, please.
Cartoon monitor. Given Gabon's position on the responsibility to protect, what is Gabon's position on intervention in Sudan, specifically in southern Sudan, given the increased activity of the government there?
What we need to, it's not, if human life is being lost at levels that are not considered tolerable, and the government is either unable or unwilling to accept aid, then it is the duty of the international community to step in and to ensure that that it's stopped, essentially. So again, if human life is being lost, we should step in.
Sir, Steinberg?
On that same vein, how would the Gabon delegates view the current crisis going on in the Congo, where militia groups have been fighting each other, sanctioned by different groups that are supporting them, and there seems to be a breakdown of order, very similar to how this is represented in Sudan and other places. How would the Gabon delegates, would they be willing to support responsibility to protect in a particular instance of the crisis that's occurring in the Congo?
So again, the nation of Gabon is dedicated to the responsibility to protect, and I guess it has to be taken on a case-by-case basis. There's no, I guess, blanket statement we can say for every incident, but again, case by case, what we're trying to do is prevent the loss of human life.
Regina, please.
Croatian National News. The delegation of Gabon recently likened the status of the African Union to the trade agreement NAFTA in the human rights session. In terms of United Nations policy, what are the important similarities between the AU and NAFTA with respect to your stance regarding responsibility to protect?
Again, we have not yet passed we don't have any draft resolutions yet, but one of the working papers, specifically the one myself, Nigeria, or Bosnia were working on, in addition to several other people, was the idea that it should initially be the duty of, because a lot of people were worried about sovereignty. That word keeps coming up. People are worried that, not to pick on them, the United States, what if they come in and they decide not to leave? So sovereignty, a big deal. What we decided for our working paper is that the emphasis should initially be on the region. What does the region think? These are people, in most cases, that do not stand to benefit from the destabilization of your country, for your neighbors with them. These are people that may be allies. These are people you had long relations with. So the idea is, and this is where it comes back to what you were saying, there are tons of regional and economic blocs in the world, and the idea is to go to those initially, so like the African Union, like NAFTA, like Mercosur, find out what they think and take their input into consideration before we come up with a solution within the international community.
Zimbabwe.
How do you deal with countries who, for example, do not want any intervention, even if, for example, you are losing human life in any kind of conflict? Like, wouldn't you say that you'd be stunting their sovereignty if they do not want you there?
So the definition of responsibility to protect in its current format is sort of that the nation does not want us there. If the country is open to foreign intervention, to foreign aid, then it's peacekeeping. If they do not want us there, but loss of life, I'll bring up the example of Burma in recent years. If loss of life is occurring and the government is again mostly unwilling or unable to allow us into the country, then it's responsibility to protect because we are infringing on their sovereignty. But I mean, there's a certain level beyond which the loss of human life cannot be tolerated. So there are some cases where sovereignty just has to be infringed.
Moving beyond the definition of responsibility to protect, are there any questions regarding policy? I'll entertain one. Ma'am.
Fox News. In the Security Council, Gabon was pretty adamant about seeing economic engagement and nuclear disarmament as separate issues, even going as far as wanting to redistribute aid to trade subsidization. Has Gabon rethought its position on that, or is it still aiming to view those as two separate issues?
Thank you very much. I'm glad to see Fox News was there for the whole side of the debate. Very imbalanced indeed. Well, what Gabon was saying is that we have to look apart. The Security Council is discussing the situation in North Korea, and one of the hampers is the economic sanctions. So Gabon was advocating the decoupling of some economic and non-military style sanctions, so as it'll ease the suffering of the people of the DPRK, while still getting rid of the slap on the wrist punishments and maintaining the sanctions that will prevent more proliferation as a starting point. But as you heard from other nations, the Security Council is going more into those issues, and now it's just a temporary focus of debate.
And one last question. Yes, sir.
So again, speaking specifically about the situation that's unfurling in the Congo, given what has been said today about acting now and changing our future today, would Gabon be willing to support responsibility to protect, given the regional inability and the particular country's inability to defend people that are dying right now?
Again, it needs to be analyzed on a case-by-case basis, and I'm not fully up to speed, I guess, on exactly what is happening in the Congo or what work was done today on that situation. But from the sound of it, if the government is unable to adequately care for its citizens and there is loss of human life, then we do have a certain responsibility to step in.
Thank you, Gabon.